somewhere in the range of around 21 to 22 different income streams that I'm kind of working with right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Revenue Streams powered by TubeBuddy, where you'll meet amazing content creators here, mostly on YouTube, and hear their stories, but more specifically, how they've built their different revenue streams from their channels and their content. We have an incredible guest today lined up for you, Dusty Porter, who's going to be giving us some insights on how he is making money through a number of different revenue streams on his podcast, different things, YouTube channel, everything. But before we bring him on, I want to make sure that I invite you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And also for those of you tuning in through the podcast, please subscribe through your favorite podcast app. So be sure to say hello in the comments and also check the description for all the links that we are going to be sharing in this episode here. Now, I want you to meet my handsome co-host over here. To my right, Alex Montas, VP of Growth at TubeBuddy. Hey, Alex, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. Thank you so much for calling me handsome. You just made my day.
That's what I do.
Oh, wow. But listen, before we have Dusty join us, and since we're talking about revenue, that's the name of the show. I just want to make sure that, that we mentioned that one of the best ways of building revenue through affiliate marketing, we just happen to have one of the best affiliate marketing programs out there here at TubeBuddy. We have an amazing program that allows you to get up to 50% monthly recurring commissions. Dusty Porter here, actually, he's actually one of our affiliate members, and he can talk about that later. We have links in the descriptions and the show notes. So take a look, sign up if you're a creator that wants to join us. We have tons of resources, an awesome community, and we also have live demand training available for all of our affiliate partners. So, with that being said, Rabbi, back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, with a little bit of housekeeping out of the way, let's bring on our special guest today. Dusty Porter is a father of two beautiful girls and a content creator at heart. He's been in this game for a long time. He runs his YouTube channel, which has over 350,000 subscribers, and he averages about 30,000 views every single day. So he also hosts the YouTube Creators Hub, which I've been a long time listener to, even before I joined TubeBuddy. It's a great resource for anyone looking to grow on YouTube. And he is also the host of the TubeBuddy Express podcast. So Dusty, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thank you so much. There's something this feels good about a new podcast starting up, being a guest on the show. You guys kind of just feeling it out, and you guys sound so good together. Can't wait to kind of see where this podcast goes, and just super excited to kind of be one of the guests that are on as far as like the ground floor as the show is kind of at its kind of baby state right now. Just super excited. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, excited to have you on. You're our second guest, so this is awesome. Would love for you just to share a little bit about yourself before we dive into some questions and really start picking your brain about revenue streams. So tell us a little bit about you and those of us that maybe for some reason don't know who Dusty Porter is.
Absolutely, Rob. Thank you again for the great intro. You made me sound a lot better than I probably am in real life. So thanks for doing that for me. As you mentioned, I've been in the creator game for a long time, over a decade now. Early on, it was just part-time. It was more of a hobby thing for me. I was told that I had a decent sounding voice. I made a couple of tutorial videos, and it kind of took off from there. It was one of those things to where it was like, well, we'll put this out, throw this out on the wall, kind of see how it does, see what sticks, and really enjoyed. I've always been a fan of technology. I've been a gearhead, a tech head for a long, long time. And so taking that passion of technology and software and kind of pairing it with being able to instruct people in hopefully a very simple way, that's kind of how the YouTube channel took off. And then that kind of spread into the podcasting, the selling of digital products, the affiliate stuff. That all kind of came down the line after the YouTube channel kind of grew and let me realize that, hey, I can make some money at this. And so I kind of did it in tandem with my full-time 40-hour plus week job. And then about 5 years into it, I asked my wife, I said, we sat down, we talked about it. Is this something that I could do full-time? She had great insurance with her government job. And so it was something where I could take the leap. And then fast forward to now to where I'm still growing and evolving all the different revenue streams and business models that I'm trying to kind of structure around the YouTube channel and podcast. And here we are.
Super excited to have you here today. It's interesting. Again, when I was looking to come into TubeBuddy, I heard your podcast. It's so interesting to now have you live, listen to your voice. Rob told me, listen, if you want to be on a live stream with Dusty, you got to get yourself a better mic because, Dusty's going to bring it. So in any case, on to the next question. Can you go maybe a little bit deeper and tell us a little bit more about the different revenue streams that you have created for your business around your content and your channel?
So I think if there's something that this past 12 to 18 months have taught us who are entrepreneurs, that putting all your eggs into one basket is could be a detriment. During the uncertain times, if you never know as far as what one revenue stream like YouTube. Let's just use YouTube for instance. Ad revenue may be really good in certain months or certain years even, and then all of a sudden drop off. I mean, I'll just be transparent with you guys. Last year the ad revenue was really high. This year it has dropped significantly, even to levels before when the pandemic was here. And so if I didn't have other diversified income or revenue streams, such as the affiliate marketing, such as the podcast and the sponsorships, and I also do other stuff. I also do voice work, which is not very much passive income. It's very much active income. So I do a lot of voice work. I actually edit some podcasts, who have been doing that for a while as well. And so knowing that I didn't want to put all of my eggs in one basket, it really helped me grow as an entrepreneur and as a business owner to learn that, okay, YouTube's great and this passive revenue is wonderful, but the thing that I really want to do is expand my reach and find other ways of making revenue. And, that all started, years ago when I was speaking with Phil about the affiliate program. And you already spoke on this, Alex, about the wonderful program that TubeBuddy has. And it's very generous, and learning how to use my affiliate links properly with my YouTube channel, with my podcast. And it's just all gone, from there. And so, yes, it's definitely very critical about that. So for me, I have my YouTube channel. I have my ad revenue, obviously, which is part of the partner program. So fortunate, so blessed to be part of that. Very thankful for YouTube for that. Other things on the YouTube channel is affiliate marketing, revenue, not just from TubeBuddy, but from, hardware that I may use, other software that I may use. People ask me questions on the channel. So I definitely, do things with kind of affiliate side of things. And then I also do some sponsored stuff when I do streams, or I may do sponsored stuff if a company approaches me and says, hey, we see that you're using our software. You've already done a video about this tool. Could we pay you to do videos? So I've also, made money that way as well. Podcasting, it's primarily sponsored. And so TubeBuddy sponsors the podcast. I also have 2 or 3 other kind of, I guess you would say sub-sponsors. TubeBuddy is the prime sponsor, but we also have sub-sponsors. And then also affiliates for the podcasting as well, because you put those links down below. I have a Patreon campaign. Alex, I could keep going on and on. I don't want to kind of run on, but as far as what I've done in my business, I kind of totaled it out before we started recording here. It's somewhere in the range of around 21 to 22 different income streams that I'm kind of working with right now. That doesn't mean I'm making a ton of money. It just means that I kind of have a breadth of different things that I'm trying to pull from right now.
I think that's something that a lot of YouTube creators need to hear, is that you need to be diversified, right? A lot of YouTube creators really want to reach that partnership, that YouTube partnership program, that AdSense money, but they don't realize that there's all these things. 21, 22 revenue streams. That's incredible. What do you think of that, Alex?
I think it's just so amazing that you have so many different ways of making money. I've been around long enough to know that all the platforms are always changing. There's always the new platform that, and there's always something else that's changing. But I think the ability to have so many different streams, just protects you for the future. But also lets you learn a lot, right? Because as you build up one stream, the other appears, right? As you were building up your YouTube channel for ad revenue, maybe that brought up the opportunity for brand content, and that brought up the opportunity for affiliates. And then with your affiliate opportunities, you bring up other kind of revenue streams. So amazing that you're able to do that.
Definitely. And it's interesting that you say that. 21 sounds like a big number, but I can tell you guys that there are days when I think about 3 or 5 more that I could do. And so you never stop, the wheels never stop turning, and you're right. One leads to the next and the next and the next. And it's just kind of, it's a kind of a snowball effect.
You've also built a really good community, Dusty. Like you have Patreon, and you're a very known creator in the space, right? And people love you when you go live. Like people just gravitate to you. Your content is very helpful. I think a lot of that is because you're just very genuine. And so, tell us a little bit about that, like the community side of things, and how that's helped your business.
It's interesting because with the YouTube channel that I have, it's not a community-based channel. And so it's more of an instructional channel. One person may watch 1 or 2 videos and then never watch another one of my videos. And that's okay. That's how I've structured it. So when I started the podcast, the community building was new to me, but it was something that came natural. I am generally a people person. I love talking with folks. I love learning about people. Like Rob, you and I over the years now have become good friends. I know about you. I see you on Facebook. I know your family. And so I love that part of it. And so as the podcast grew, all of these creators begin to kind of, flock to the podcast even more than the YouTube channel, and I loved it. And so I began to figure out what they wanted, what they needed, what questions did they want me to ask the YouTubers that I brought onto the podcast? What were the segments of the show that they wanted me to bring back? What did they learn the most from? And so building a community as a creator, you don't have to build a community of 1 million. You build a community of 50 to 100 to 1,000. You can monetize those small numbers to be very, very large monetarily for you. And so you think about it, you have 1,000 people willing to give you $10 a month. You do the math, that's a lot of money. And so building a community who trusts you, number one, and a community that is consistent is a big, big deal. And so I'm so fortunate that the podcast has allowed me to do that. And the podcast has not slowed down. It just continues to grow. And, people like Alex who say, I've listened to the show. I've been a longtime listener. It's people like him who go back and listen to the old episodes, people who are continually listening. That's what means a lot to me. And that's what really builds a community.
Take us back to the early days of your channel and your podcast. What was one thing that you did early on that you feel like really helped you progress to growing your different revenue streams?
It was honesty. Because one of the things about people that I've consumed for a long time, people like Pat Flynn, people like John Lee Dumas, Tim Ferriss, the people who are very successful, what I found early on as I was commuting back and forth between my job and listening to these podcasts, reading these audiobooks, is that they were all transparent. They were all honest. And so early on in my podcast, I would say things like, man, I made a mistake, or this one video type that I did just really flopped and it wasn't a good way, or this change I made on my end screen or whatever. The community who consumes my content, they don't care about the flashiness of, what software is best or what'll make their videos look the best. What they care about is the real things that I have done as a YouTube creator and my guests that I have on my show. What have they done to really move the needle on? That's something I always say is what moves the needle for your YouTube channel. And, having these people on who are much smarter than me is another thing that I did as I brought these guests on the show. Not only was I providing content for others, but I was learning as well. And so really increasing my sphere of, network was really important early on, is to bringing on people like Nick Nimmin and his brother D, who I'm having on the podcast later today, people like Phil with TubeBuddy, the people who knew more than me, always surrounding myself with people who knew more than me about growing communities, about YouTube, about podcasting was always very important early on.
I think it's just amazing that you focus on that aspect of building community, but also how important that is, that not only when you brought on this guest, you were learning as your guests were learning, and it just becomes kind of like a really amazing circle, right? That all of us are bringing that on, coupled with your honesty, right? Like if you got to bring it on, you got to say your actual opinion, you got to tell the truth.
You've done a really good job, surrounding yourself with so many people. I think also the podcast here, and I think this is going to be one of the things that we want to ask you is, that's one of the benefits of, doing these interviews is like you're building this network, right? So very, very strong move.
Staying positive too, right? Because there's so much negativity online that I found that positivity has really helped me as well, because being positive about the things, even when maybe things aren't so positive, really trying, being honest and transparent. That's just what I said, but being positive as well, lifting people up, telling them how that they can do it, as opposed to the trolls that are going to comment on their videos and say that they can't do it.
Just an example of what I've seen you do. I honestly went to one of your videos and I think somebody mentioned, wow, the YouTube algorithm it's taking a hit this year or something like that. And I remember, if I recall correctly, and I don't know if you'll remember it because this is you, I remember you commenting and saying, hey man, I'm just focusing on bringing value. It's okay. I have tons of views every day. It's okay. This particular video doesn't get picked up by the algorithm. And I just wanted to mention that is one example of the very positive vibe that you're bringing in to the whole sphere of YouTube.
Yeah, I love when I get that question, because for me, it's not about individual video performance. It's about the channel as a whole and the different kind of evergreen content I can produce that'll provide value for years to come. My new videos may only get a few hundred views to begin with, but normally after a few months, they kind of start to spike in the algorithm and show up in search. And that's kind of how I built my channel. And so the YouTube channel now is a lot of passive income, because the videos that I've done 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 years ago, I get comments on still today, and I still make money from those. And so building my channel that way has really helped me to kind of get a perspective of that. Now, would it be great to have a more community-based YouTube channel? Yes. Sometimes I do wish that it was the case, but I kind of know the channel that I have, and I also have that community on the podcast. And so I kind of had the best of both worlds.
One more follow-up after that, just because I find it super interesting, is the long-term view, right? It's like, hey, man, it's okay if today I don't have, 100,000 views, because as people start searching for this, as people start discovering the content, as people are, start becoming interested in this kind of things, then it's going to get picked up, and more and more and more. This is just going to keep on growing because SEO is going to have me there.
For me, there's nothing more exciting than going to a video and diving into the analytics of a 2-year-old video and say that, man, for about 8 months, that thing was stagnant. But about 9 months in, that thing took a leap. YouTube was like, oh, this is good. This is probably the best video showing you how to do topic A. And they pull that up in the algorithm, and you just start getting all these comments. And you're like, okay, now we're getting some of that work. I had a video one time. I'll never forget, I did a Zoom video about 2.5 years ago, kind of when Zoom started, or maybe a little less than that. And the pandemic started, and all of a sudden it just went through the roof. Zoom contacted me, the people over there. It was crazy.
Wow.
Those kind of things are wonderful for me. I don't have a vlog channel. I don't do a gaming channel. My channel's strictly instructional, strictly tutorial based. I have it niched down, so it's not about one particular bit of software. It's about just technology and software as a whole. So one day it may be Photoshop, the next day it may be how to do this with your camera, the next day it may be how to do something on PayPal. That's kind of how I have built my channel, and I'm proud of that. And that has led me to now working on multiple courses and pulling from a breadth of almost over 1,000 video tutorials, and using that knowledge now of building these guides and these full-fledged courses. I already had the knowledge and sometimes even the content for them on YouTube, and I have a great place to send people from as well. And so that is a benefit as well.
Well, thank you so much, Dusty. So, just to, circle back a little bit and kind of switch gears. And I know we were just focused on the YouTube channel, but going back to something you said earlier, and again, this is how I learned about you. Podcasting really feels like your first love. You have a couple of super successful podcasts, and, I love to know, what have been some of the benefits of podcasting for your brand and for your business?
Alex, you are right. The podcasting to me is the thing that, growing up, I always wanted to be on the radio. I loved listening to radio. I loved sports. And so I love people like Ernie Johnson, who is on the NBA TNT show. I love guys who are really good on the microphone. And so being able to interview people, when I listen to people like Tim Ferriss, I probably listen a little differently than most folks, because I listen at how he asks the questions. How can I become a better interviewer? And so you're right. Podcasting to me is probably my first love. I would definitely agree with that. And growing a podcast has been one of the most fun things, because not that YouTube feedback is tangible, you can't touch it, but you see the comments that people have on your videos. But with podcasting, it's more of an intimate relationship with your community, to where you can't necessarily see that direct feedback or impact like you can with a video. And so with audio, and with it being long form, you just have to kind of go by the stats, which to this day still aren't that great, even on great sites and services like what I use on Libsyn. But, you get that feedback via email. People have to go out of their way. They don't have a comment section under a video. They actually have to send you an email, go to the show notes, find your link, either support you with your affiliate link, leave you a review. They have to go out of their way to do these things. And so that these people care about your stuff. They're invested in your stuff, in your content. There's nothing more beautiful to me than getting an email and saying, "Hey, Dusty, my name is, Lindsay. I'm an aspiring YouTuber. I just listened to your interview with XYZ. It helped me tremendously." Or what's even better is they listened to it months ago. They send me a link to their YouTube channel. I see the things they've implemented from the podcast, and it just blows your mind. So podcasting has such a different effect and has such a different impact than even video content does. So yeah, podcasting is a big deal. I think it's the wave of the future, and I think that podcasting to me is really special.
Some people in our circle of friends have called you the voice. I forget who it is, but
they're nice.
No, that's really good. Let's talk a little bit about the mistakes. I know that there's all these best practices that we can share, but I'd love to hear, from your side of things, some of the mistakes and maybe failures. If you could go back, what would be some, maybe one or two things that you would do differently with growing your business, your different revenue streams, when you kind of have a little bit of, time to look back and wish, like, maybe I should have done this differently.
So Rob, unfortunately, there are many more of these than there are success stories. And I found that with entrepreneurs and business owners, that's normally the case. There are so many things, but I'm going to highlight three. And I'm going to do it very quickly because I know we don't want to go too long here. Number one was early on in the podcasting days, I recorded, this happens to a lot of podcasters and YouTubers, just creators in general. I did about 15 episodes. I looked at my numbers and said, this is trash. Nobody's listening to me. I'm just going to quit. And this was early on in 2014, going into 2015. And so I quit podcasting. I just stopped the YouTube Creators Hub show for over a year. I look back at that, and to think of the momentum that I could have gotten early on as people were discovering me, and the show began to take off immediately after me stopping recording, which of course is how it worked. And if I were to continue and get through that spot, and if YouTubers would just get through that hump of, okay, I've done 20 videos, I don't have any subscribers, nobody's watching, but I've heard Mr. Beast say this and other successful YouTubers, you've got to keep making videos. You've got to do sometimes hundreds of videos to find success. And so I really wish I would have continued and not have faded off there and then had to kind of restart from ground zero when I started the podcast back up, because man, to see the growth of what that year could have done and the people I could have met, that's number one. Number two would be how I handle guests on a podcast. And so what I mean by that is that early on, I would bring them on and then I wouldn't do any sharing of their stuff, and I wouldn't have like a PDF like I do now that I send out to them and things like that. So I guess my post-processing of a guest and people that I meet is definitely much different now than it was then. And then finally, one of the mistakes that I made was that getting that imposter syndrome of, this course is already out there. Or, Tim Smoyer or Daryl Eves or Nick Nimmin, they already do this thing, right? They already have that space conquered. That's not the case. They do have it conquered, and they're amazing people. They're amazing creators, but it stopped me from doing a lot of things early on that would have made me monetarily much more successful. And if I would have done things that I just said, oh, a YouTube course would have been nice to kind of pair with this podcast, this would have been nice to pair with this, or showing people how to set up their podcast, getting a nice little package or a course, but the folks have already done that. Who cares? Because since then, I've seen multiple people succeed doing those same things I could have done early on. So don't paint yourself in such a small box to where you're like, man, this has already been done. know that you are your own voice and you can do it just as good, if not better, than those folks that have already done it.
Taking action and, really just having no fear, really, of just like, let's do these things, right? And not wait. So yeah, that's very good wisdom shared. Thank you.
That long-term approach is important, especially for YouTube, but honestly, anything in life, right? You just got to get through that hump. You just got to get through that valley. I know you just talked about failures, but we know you are, and Rob has all the numbers, you are one of our most successful affiliate partners in terms of revenue. I'd love to know a little bit more about your experience with our affiliate program and how it's made an impact on your business. And honestly, how were you able to make it successful?
So firstly, I just want to rib at Rob. That's hard to say a little bit, and say that I would love to have a leaderboard. How fun would that be? I mean, maybe not showing the actual numbers, but like have a leaderboard and say, I'm number 100, because I know I'm nowhere near the top there. But say I'm number 100 and say, okay, what can I do? Because being competitive like me, that's something that affiliate programs haven't done yet. And I think if we could add a little bit of competition to it. I remember early on, I worked for a membership YMCA when I was younger, and we'd get a bonus or a stipend for selling memberships. I would go crazy. They actually had to remove that program because they were paying me more than the program directors. And I was like, listen, if you give me a reason to hustle, I'm going to hustle. And so I think that would be super cool. But the thing about the TubeBuddy affiliate program is this. It is one of the most generous, and again, this comes from people like Phil and the original people who started this thing. It's super generous to people like me. Not only are the numbers, the percentage that you get from each sale super high, 50%. Well, that's crazy, right? Not everybody gets that, I understand, but it's even those people who don't, 20 to 50%, that's crazy in terms of affiliate programs. Not only that, but you also get it recurring. And so every year, somebody stays on with TubeBuddy, which, by the way, all you got to do is get them there, which is the beauty of affiliates, right? You just get them there. You just lead the dog to water. You lead the dog to food. They get it. They see the benefits, and they're going to stay with them. I can look at my affiliate dashboard and see where people have signed up in 2015, 16, and are still to this day making me $2-3 a month, or so many bucks every 6 months or a year or whatever it is. So when I see that email come through, I got a little Gmail filter. Every time a TubeBuddy sale comes in, it just comes in, and I'm like, oh man, this is beauty. I'll be like last week. The beauty of it is I was at the beach. I was laying on, getting my feet and toes in the sand, go up, check my phone, see a couple TubeBuddy sales come in. I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the life right here. This is the life of passive income. And so, yeah, I'm not getting rich by any of it. And I really hope one of my goals this year, Alex and Rob, is to take my TubeBuddy affiliate revenue to the next level. And people like Rob have allowed me and have helped me to do this by offering special things for my audience. And so it's really helped me knowing that I have a consistent revenue stream of a decent amount of money, and has allowed me to do other things in my business because of the affiliate program. So the generosity, the lump sum that you get, and just the consistency. I've been a part of so many affiliate programs over the years that change. You only get this percentage now. Or, man, we're changing our terms of service to where you only get this amount of money. Consistency with the TubeBuddy program has been bar none the best of anyone I've been a part of, and I couldn't recommend it anymore.
That is essentially, the best parts of our affiliate program is that it is recurring, which is very rare. I mean, there's so many different affiliate programs out there, but I love the advice. The feedback, the request. You can send that over to Alex at. No, I was joking.
Give me a way to compete.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I do think that there is some healthy competition that should be, fostered. Yeah. I think with the affiliate program, that would be really fun. Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Dusty, this has been an amazing conversation. As always so good to hang out with you, learning from you all the time. So thank you so much for your time. We'll make sure to link to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, as well as your YouTube channel, and also, of course, a TubeBuddy Express podcast that you host on our behalf. But Dusty, where else can folks find you and learn about everything else that you are working on?
I've done I've worked really hard the past year or so to make everything just around my name, Dusty Porter. But I really want to encourage you guys. The YouTube Creators Hub podcast, I think, fits perfectly with the audience of this podcast, that revenue streams that we're listening to now. And if you think you'd be a great guest on the podcast, reach out to me, dusty@dustyporter.com. I interview YouTube creators each and every week, and I'm so thankful that I get to do that each and every week. So Dusty Porter all over the internet, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So really appreciate you guys having me. This has been a blast.
Dusty, thank you for your time. And, to everybody else, thank you so much for watching, listening to this interview. And again, just like Dusty said, I want to urge you that if you want to add at least one incredible revenue stream to your business, I invite you to join our affiliate program. I may add, competition board. We're going to look to see how we can do that. But in the meantime, we link to it in the description or in the show notes. It will only take a couple of minutes, and you will also get access to all of the resources, the community, the training that we've created for you. You'll have access to Rob Balasavas, and he's really awesome. Dusty seems to like him. And, on behalf of myself and Rob, I really want to thank you again, and I hope that you will see our next video. Thank you so much.
See ya.